Hello everyone, it's Glenda and welcome back to my channel Creative Grandma. Today's crochet tutorial is for the holiday anytime crochet dishcloth. I wanted to say a special thank you to Lion Brand for supplying me with the yarn to make these dishcloths. This will be a free pattern and I'll have the link to the pattern in the description box underneath this video. You can just click that link and download that pattern immediately and follow along with the crochet tutorial. I picked some beautiful Christmas colors because again, Christmas in July kicks off the start of us starting those holiday projects. But I also want to make it very clear that these dishcloths are made for any time of the year. You can make these in these beautiful Christmas colors, or you can choose everyday colors to match your home decor. They make excellent gifts. They're great for craft shows and just to have around the house when you want to do those dishes and have your kitchen looking nice and fresh with these handmade dishcloths. So let me show you the 4 samples I have up close. Here is the red one, and they're all made using this beautiful textured stitch. You can see how it just gives it a little bit of texture for scrubbing those dishes. So that's the red one. I made a white one, which really shows off the stitch pattern. I made a green, and again, these are all Christmas colors. And then I made a blue one to show you that even any day colors to suit your kitchen decor is a great way to just add a beautiful homemade accent to that kitchen. So for this project, I'm using Lion Brand 24/7 cotton. Now I switched to using the Lion Brand 24/7 cotton because I thought the colors were brighter. The twist of the yarn is tighter. I like the way the yarn is made, and it shows excellent stitch definition. So this is why I switched to the Lion Brand 24/7 cotton. Now it comes in a 3.5 ounce skein, 100 grams. It's 186 yards, 170 meters, and it is a 4 medium weight yarn. This is 100% mercerized cotton, and they have many colors available in this yarn. I also have this beautiful pink color that I had on hand, and this is the color 142 Rose. And then they have this beautiful white, which I used, and this is color number 100 White. If you like the red, this is color number 113 Red. Now this green one here I made using color number 172 Grass. And then for today's video, I'll be making this one here on the end in this beautiful color Aqua. This is color number 102 Aqua. And I'll have a link in the description box as well that will link you right to Lion Brand 24/7 cotton. You can click that link. It'll take you right to Lion Brand's website, and you'll be able to see all the beautiful colors that are available in this yarn. So for this project, you're going to need 1 skein of the Lion Brand 24/7 cotton in whichever color you prefer. You can choose those beautiful Christmas colors, or you can choose one of the other colors. And you're also going to need a size H8 or 5mm crochet hook. So grab your yarn, grab your hook, and let's get started. To begin, I'm using the Lion Brand 24/7 cotton in this beautiful blue Aqua. It's color number 102. I'm also using a size H8 or 5mm crochet hook. I already tied my yarn to my hook, and I just use a double knot. You can use whichever method you prefer. So to begin, we're going to chain 26. You're going to yarn over and pull through the loop on your hook, and that creates your first chain. The loop on your hook does not count as a chain. Yarn over, pull through, that's 2, 3, 4. Continue until you have a chain with 26 chains, and I'll be back and we'll start row 1. I have my chain with 26 chains, and now we're going to begin row 1. Row 1 is a very easy row. We're just going to single crochet across. We're going to skip the first chain and we're going to go into the second chain. Count 1, 2, insert your hook and work a single crochet. Yarn over, pull through that chain. You have 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. You just made a single crochet. Insert into the next chain, work a single crochet. Yarn over, pull through the chain. You have 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. You're going to continue and work 1 single crochet in each chain across. Insert into the next chain, work a single crochet. Insert into the next chain, work a single crochet. Continue and work 1 single crochet in each chain across to the end, and I'll meet you at the end of row 1. I'm over at the end of row 1. This is what your work should look like, and you should have 1 single crochet in each chain across. Now we began with the chain 26, so you should have a total of 25 single crochet stitches across. So now we're getting ready to start row 2. Now this pattern is a 2-row repeat where we're going to be repeating rows 2 and 3 for the pattern. So let's begin. We're going to start and chain 1. You're going to turn your work. You're going to skip that beginning chain 1 and you're going to skip that first stitch. So when you look down at your work, you're skipping the chain 1 and this first stitch here. And we're going to start and work a double crochet right into this next stitch. So when we start working this double crochet, that is going to be the start of our repeat. So yarn over, skip the chain 1, skip the first stitch, insert into the next stitch, work a double crochet. Yarn over, pull through that stitch. You have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops only, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. You just made your double crochet stitch. We're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. Insert into the next stitch, and I'm going under both of those top loops. So if you have to turn your work and see those stitches, make sure you're going under the top 2 loops. We're going to slip stitch, yarn over, pull through that stitch and pull through the loop on your hook. And that is the end of the repeat, and that's what's going to form the pattern across your work. So if you're a more experienced crocheter, you can just go ahead and start working across, double crochet into the next stitch, slip stitch into the next, and work that across to the end. So let's begin the repeat again. You're going to yarn over, insert into the next stitch, making sure you're going under both of those top loops, work a double crochet. Insert into the next stitch. Again, make sure you're going under both of those top loops, work a slip stitch, yarn over, pull through the stitch, and pull through the loop on your hook. Now when you're doing the slip stitch, make sure you're doing it loose. Don't tighten it up too much, or you're going to have trouble getting your stitches in when you work the next row. So again, that is the end of the repeat. So let's do it again. Yarn over, insert into the next stitch, work a double crochet. Insert into the next stitch and work a slip stitch. And that is the end of the repeat. I'll show you one more time and then you can continue on your own. You're going to yarn over, insert into the next stitch, work a double crochet. Insert into the next stitch and slip stitch. And make sure you're doing that slip stitch loose so you have plenty of room to get your stitch in when you do the next row. So that's it. That's the repeat. Go ahead and continue. Work 1 double crochet into the next stitch, slip stitch into the next. Repeat that across to the end of the row and I'll meet you there. I'm over close to the end of row 2, and I always like to stop because a lot of times my new crocheters have a lot of trouble when they start the rows and when they end the row. So when you get to the end of the row, you're going to end with the repeat with a double crochet into the one stitch, and a slip stitch will go into the very last stitch. So when you get to the end, when you get to that last stitch, you should do a slip stitch. So hopefully your pattern is coming out to where you're ending with a double crochet into the next to the last stitch, and then we're going to work a slip stitch into this ending stitch. So just turn your work and you'll see that ending stitch right here. It almost looks like a little teardrop or heart. Insert under the top 2 loops of that stitch and slip stitch. So row 2 is finished. Now this is the wrong side of your work. This is what it looks like. So now we're ready to begin row 3. Row 3 is a pretty simple row. We're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn our work. In row 3, we're going to work a single crochet in each stitch across. So we're going to skip this beginning chain 1. So here's your chain 1. Now remember, this does not count as a stitch, this loop on your hook. So skip the chain 1 and insert into that first slip stitch of the row. Work a single crochet. And when you're working this pattern, this is kind of textured on the right side, so you have to turn your work to see the top of your stitches. So when you're looking at your work, ignore this textured of that double crochet. Make sure you're turning your work and you can see where you're going to go in. You're going to see the top 2 stitches, which looks like a teardrop. And these are where you're going to go in. You're going to be going under those top 2 loops of those stitches. And sometimes you can't see them when you're holding your work in front of you like this. You really have to turn it towards you to see the top of that stitch. So insert into the next stitch under the top 2 loops, work a single crochet. Again, turn your work so you can see those stitches. Insert into the top of that next stitch, work a single crochet. Find your next stitch, just turn your work, you'll see the top of it. They're almost on the wrong side when you're working this. You cannot see them here. I'm just trying to make that point because it's one of those patterns where if you're new to crocheting, then you may get confused. And I really like to go over every aspect of a pattern, even though it seems simple to people who crochet every day. To new people, it may be confusing. So turn your work, find those top 2 loops, because this is your double crochet. You don't want to go in the side of that stitch because it's being bent down to form that texture. Just turn your work and find the top of that next stitch. Work a single crochet. Insert into the next stitch, and the slip stitch sometimes likes to bend down, so make sure you're finding that right stitch. Insert into that slip stitch, work a single crochet. Insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet. So I know I went over that several times and I'm sorry about that. I just wanted to make it clear because of the type of pattern it is. So go ahead and continue and work 1 single crochet in each stitch across, and I'll meet you at the end of row 3. So I'm over towards the end of row 3, and again I wanted to come back and show you how I end the row before I finish it. So I just worked a single crochet into that last double crochet stitch, and you can tell because it's puffy and it has that bent down look to the stitch, and then you're going to see your turning chain. So to end this row, you work in your last double crochet, and then you're going to work 1 more single crochet into the top of this turning chain. So insert into the top of that chain right at the end of the row, and if you're not sure, once you make that single crochet into the last double crochet, you're just going into the very next chain. So just insert into the top of that turning chain, work a single crochet. And that is the end of row 3. Now when you look at your work, you should have a total of 25 single crochet stitches across your work, and it just creates beautiful texture. And I'll turn it this way so you can really see the texture. It's just really nice when you're trying to scrub those dishes to have that little bit of texture on your dishcloth. So for the pattern for this dishcloth, you're going to click back on the video and you're going to repeat rows 2 and row 3 13 more times, and then you're going to repeat row 2 one more time. So you're just going to repeat rows 2 and 3 until you get to the end of row 30. So again, you're going to repeat rows 2 and 3 13 times, and then row 2 one more time, and that will take you to the end of row 30. So if you need help, just click back on the video, start on row 2, and you're going to repeat rows 2 and row 3 and work until you get to the end of row 30, and I'll be back and show you how to put your border around your dishcloth. I'm back. I worked 30 rows of our pattern, and when you get to the end of row 30, you're going to be on the wrong side, so you're going to be on the smooth side. So you should have repeated rows 2 and 3 13 times and then finished with row 2. So when you turn your work over, this is the right side. So again, you should be on the wrong side of your work, and you should have 30 rows at this point. So the main part of the dishcloth is finished. So now we're going to go ahead and put our border on. So I'm just going to insert my hook back in my loop. We're just going to chain 1, and you're going to turn your work. And now we're going to start the border of our dishcloth. We're just going to put a simple single crochet border around all 4 sides of our dishcloth. So let's begin. We're going to skip the beginning chain 1, insert under the top 2 loops of the first stitch, work a single crochet. Insert into the next stitch, under the top 2 loops, work a single crochet. Single crochet into the next stitch, single crochet into the next stitch, and if you have to turn your work to see those top 2 loops, turn your work, insert under the top 2 loops and work a single crochet. And we're just going to repeat 1 single crochet in each stitch across the top of our dishcloth. Single crochet into the next stitch. So go ahead and continue and work 1 single crochet in each stitch across to the corner. I'll meet you there and then we'll continue. So I'm over at the corner, and I always like to do the last stitch with you to show those new crocheters exactly where to put your hook and turn that corner. So when you look at your work, you have 1 stitch remaining, and you can see that stitch right here. So insert your hook into that last stitch across the top and work a single crochet. So when you look at your work, you're going to have a total of 25 single crochet across the top of your dishcloth. So now we're getting ready to work our corner and work down our length. We're going to chain 1, which helps transition to the other side of our dishcloth, and now we're going to begin to work down the length. We're going to insert into the same space as the last single crochet work, so you're going right at the base of that stitch, insert your hook, work a single crochet. Insert into the next row end stitch, and you'll see it has a little bit bigger opening. Insert into that row end stitch, work a single crochet. So I'm going to go ahead and work right down the side of the dishcloth with you, because some of my newer crocheters find the side, working down the side of an item, harder than working across the top or bottom. So I'll just work it right with you. We're going to skip the next row end stitch and work 2 single crochet into the next row end stitch. Insert into that next row end stitch, work 2 single crochet. 1, 2. Skip the next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work 1 single crochet. And that is the end of the repeat for working down the length. So let's do it again. You're going to skip the next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work 2 single crochet. 1 and 2. Skip the next row end stitch, insert into that next row end stitch, work 1 single crochet. And that is the end of the repeat. So let's do it again. Skip the next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work 2 single crochet. 1 and 2. Skip the next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work 1 single crochet. And again, that is the end of the repeat. So we're just going to continue right down to the corner. Skip the next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work 2 single crochet. 1 and 2. Skip the next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work 1 single crochet. Skip the next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work 2 single crochet. 1 and 2. Skip the next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work 1 single crochet. We're almost to the corner. Skip the next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work 2 single crochet. 1 and 2. Skip the next row end stitch, insert into that next row end stitch, work 1 single crochet. Skip the next row end stitch, insert into that next row end stitch, work 2 single crochet. 1 and 2. You're going to skip that next row end stitch, and you're going to end with 1 single crochet into that last row end stitch. Work 1 single crochet. And when you look at your work, you should have a total of 23 single crochet going down the length of your dishcloth in those row end stitches. So a total of 23 single crochet. So now we're getting ready to form our corner and work down the bottom of our foundation row. Now you should have a little string that when you first did your beginning foundation chain, I'm just going to hold that right up against my work and work right over that piece of yarn and weave it in as I crochet. I'm going to chain 1, that forms our corner, and then we're just going right in to the first chain along the foundation row. Insert into that first chain, work a single crochet. And we're just going to work 1 single crochet in each chain across the bottom of our dishcloth. Insert into the next chain, work a single crochet. Insert into the next chain, work a single crochet. Insert into the next chain, work a single crochet. So continue and work 1 single crochet in each stitch over to your corner, and I'll meet you there. I'm over at the corner. I have 1 stitch to go. Here's that stitch. So I'm just going to insert into that last chain across the bottom of my dishcloth and work a single crochet. So when you're done with the bottom of your dishcloth, you're going to have a total of 25 single crochet across the bottom of your dishcloth. So now we're getting ready to work down our fourth side of our dishcloth. So this one's going to start just a little bit differently than the other side. So you're going to chain one to form your corner, and then we're going to begin working down the length of our dishcloth. We're going to insert our hook right into the same space as that last single crochet worked. Right at the base of that single crochet, work a single crochet. We're going to skip the next row end stitch and work 2 single crochet into the next row end stitch. Insert into that next row end stitch, work 2 single crochet. 1 and 2. You're going to skip the next row end stitch, work 1 single crochet into the next row end stitch. Skip the next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work 2 single crochet. 1 and 2. Skip the next row end stitch, and if you're having a hard time, just pull your work and you'll see these open spaces show up right here. Here's one, here's one, here's one. That's how you find your row end stitches. So let's continue. You're going to skip that next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work 1 single crochet. Skip that next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work 2 single crochet. 1 and 2. Skip the next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work 1 single crochet. Skip the next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work 2 single crochet. 1 and 2. Skip the next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work 1 single crochet. Skip the next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work 2 single crochet. 1 and 2. Skip the next row end stitch, insert into the next stitch, work 1 single crochet. We're almost to the corner. Skip the next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work 2 single crochet. 1 and 2. Skip the next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work 1 single crochet. And I'm so sorry because I know that I just keep repeating myself, but I do try to make sure that I'm working it right with you right down to the corner. So let's continue. Skip the next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, work 2 single crochet. 1 and 2. Skip the next row end stitch, insert into the next row end stitch, and work 1 single crochet. So now when you look at your work, when you get towards the last 2 row end stitches, you just finished your repeat of 2 single crochet, skip a row, 1 single crochet, then you're going to have 2 row end stitches remaining. So you have to remember, when it's all one color, it kind of blurs together. Here is that first single crochet of the round 1 border. So this does not count. This is the beginning part. So this is where you count your last 2 rows. So to finish our border, we're going to skip the next row and insert into the next row end stitch, work 1 single crochet. And when you look at your work, you should have a total of 23 single crochet down the length of your dishcloth. Now to finish our dishcloth, I'm just going to chain 1, and I'm going to insert under the top 2 loops of that beginning single crochet. So you're going to skip the chain 1 right here. That does not count as a stitch. You're going right up under the top 2 loops of that very first single crochet of round 1, and slip stitch. Yarn over, pull through that stitch, and pull through the loop on your hook. Now, if you're someone who likes to put hanging loops, if you have a loop and you hang your dishcloths, then this is where you could chain maybe 8 or 10 and then slip stitch back into that first stitch, and you can have a little hanging loop to hang those dishcloths. But I'm going to fasten off here, and I'm going to end my dishcloth. Now when I fasten off, I chain 2, 1, 2, I pull up my hook, pull that yarn out, grab the yarn, pinch, pull down, and it creates a secure knot. Now you can fasten off in whichever method you prefer. So this is the front of the work, and you're going to flip this over and use a yarn needle, and you want to weave in and out through the stitches, and that's why you need a longer length, and then you want to come back a second time and even go through a third time to really secure those ends, because when you're using dishcloths, you're scrubbing and you're using them, and you don't want your ends to come out. So let me zoom out and show you the dishcloth. So this is what your dishcloth looks like. Again, you have that beautiful texture on your dishcloth for scrubbing those dishes. So thank you everybody for stopping by today and crocheting the holiday anytime dishcloth pattern with me. Now this is a free pattern, and I'll have a link in the description box underneath this video that you can just click that link and download the free pattern. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you enjoy making them for gifts for the holidays for your friends and co-workers, and even for yourself. So make sure you hit that like button if you like this pattern, and if you're not a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the crochet fun. So until next time everyone, stay inspired and happy crocheting.